So sometime in the last week of February, I was looking through Netflix Instant, and of course the first thing that pops up is its featured movie. And I realized that featured movie was a sequel to one of my favorite childhood fantasy films of all time. Turns out it went straight to DVD that week, and I had to see it on Netflix, and now you get to hear me review it. I was 6 years old when I saw the original Dragonheart and actually saw it in theaters with my dad. And despite being 6 years old at the time, I still remember a great deal of that movie experience. I remember what theater we were in, I remember roughly what seat we were in, and I remember the whole last scene in the film while I'm in theaters as clear as if it happened yesterday. When I was a child, that movie was one of the greatest movies of all time for me. And despite me being older, I still love that movie. Now, do I think it's one of the greatest movies of all time? Probably not, but I still ultimately love that film. Plus, if I were to look back and try to figure out what point in time was the moment where I loved dragons more than any other mythical creature or almost any other animal for that matter, it would probably stem to seeing that Dragonheart movie. I don't know, ever since then, I've been a sucker for dragons when it comes to dragons in movies or stories or anything. Hell, I even love buying dragon shirts. Look at this thing. This is sweet. Yeah, this is for a roller coaster. That's not even that bad. It's like a very mild roller coaster at Cedar Point, but I don't know. They always had the best shirts. In 2000, the second Dragonheart movie came out straight to DVD. Again, I had no knowledge of it whatsoever until one day I was at Family Video and it happened to be on the wall, and I thought, "Oh my God! Another Dragonheart movie, I have to see it." And so I was 10 years old. I loved it when I was 10. Unfortunately, recently I've been watching a few 2000 and 2001 movies, and I realized just how childish the second movie was. But granted, it was a G movie, or was it G? It might have been PG, but it was definitely no PG-13 movie. Dragonheart 3, The Sorcerer's Curse, is about a young squire named Gareth. Now, along with a few other squires, he is under this one knight who is protecting this town that's nearest to this huge wall that has been created to try to keep these savage people out. However, this knight is not one of the noble knights of old, and he forces these poor peasants to pay for his protection. Showing some kindness to these old couple, Gareth doesn't collect the payment needed and he gets kicked out, and apparently the only way he'll become a knight now is to give the knight gold in payment for his knighthood. And then that night, a comet falls from the Draco constellation and right into the forest. But of course, anyone who knows the Dragonheart story knows that the constellation of Draco in this movie franchise is the souls of dragons. And so when a comet falls from there, you can sort of figure it out that there's going to be a dragon that had landed on Earth, came back from the dead, I guess. And that's just what the comet is. It's a dragon that had come to Earth with eggs to repopulate the Earth with dragons, because it seems the movie tries to sever all ties they can from Dragonheart 2, and there's no dragons left on Earth at this time, and even the humans don't believe dragons existed. And meanwhile, during all this craziness, there is an evil sorcerer who is not really a sorcerer but a druid that has plans to take over the dragon's body and use him for evil. And despite this movie being a straight-to-DVD film, it does have a lot better quality than most of those movies. The action sequences are actually good, and the CGI is actually really good. Granted, the first Dragonheart movie still had better CGI than this one, but ultimately, it is way better than most straight-to-DVD films. Yeah, looking at the DVD cover, you're going to be thinking that CGI is not going to be good in this film. But the way the dragon looks in the actual film is really good. And there's these moments where he's also, because of this curse, he's unable to be in a physical form during the daylight and among fire, so he looks like ghostly and you can see his insides and it's pretty creepy looking, but it actually looks good. Yeah, the cover of this DVD, it doesn't look that good. It just feels like bad Photoshop on this part, because the dragon is way bigger than that. It looks out of place on the DVD cover. CGI, it looks pretty good. Now this is still definitely a Dragonheart film. There might be some inconsistencies and there might be some differences that I'm going to get into next, but it's still very much a Dragonheart film. The thing is, there are no monks in this movie. See, in the other two Dragonheart movies, there's always been a monk side character in the film. In this one, the monks are replaced by druids that live in the forest with all the clansmen and the savages and all the people that are being kept in the forest. Okay, so there is some major differences on what the dragon looks like in this film. So let's take a look at Draco here. This was from the first Dragonheart, and then Drago, who is in Dragonheart 3. Yeah, Draco looks more human-esque in his face, whereas Drago looks more like what we would think of dragons to look like today. And so you don't get to see more of an emotional side to his expressions as you can get with Draco. But throughout the film, Drago is definitely not expressionless, and he's definitely doesn't feel too savage. Overall, I don't mind what the dragon looks like today. Again, the shared heart thing is a big deal in this movie as well. Maybe not as big of a deal as the first two because it happened so fast, but it is a big moment in the film, and ultimately it is one of the deciding factors to the climax in the film. In the first two films, you don't really see the heart, and you don't actually really see the heart sharing. Basically, the dragons will open up a scale where his heart should be, and then next thing you know, the human would be fine, and they'd both be sharing a heart. This one goes into detail of showing it a little bit more. Now, obviously, it's a PG-13 movie, so it's not like a dragon is ripping out his heart, ripping it in half, and then putting it in a human or anything like that. No, it's done a little differently. He'll cut himself, he cuts the human, and then some green liquid gets on its claw, and then he puts it on the wound and stuff. And next thing you know, it actually shows CG versions of each of their hearts, and it's a almost cartoony CGI heart. It almost reminds me of some of the ending credits in Triple X. If you remember that film with Vin Diesel and everything, and the closing credits where it showed all these CGI of engines and hearts and crazy things as this song singing about adrenaline goes on. It reminds me of that, except the human heart is half green and half red throughout the movie. Also, tiny nitpicky things you could say about that scene is that you actually see the cut happen on the human's chest, and then the next time they show the cut, it's in a totally different area, and it's more horizontal than it was vertical, so yeah, you can nitpick that, but that's just a minor inconsistency. I don't really care about that, but some people might. Overall, I really enjoyed this film. It was a nice surprise, and though there are inconsistencies and there's differences between all three of the Dragonheart films, it's not that big of a deal for me, and I'm still a big fan of this movie. Do I love Dragonheart more than Dragonheart 3? Yes, by far. But I like where this movie's going, and I'm hoping that Dragonheart 4 will be just as good, if not better. Yeah, I had very little issues with this film, despite this being a pretty long review, and I'm giving Dragonheart 3, The Sorcerer's Curse, 4 stars. Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I've been very surprised by the 3 straight-to-DVD movies I've seen so far. Alien Outpost wasn't half bad, even though I gave it a 2.5 star. I still thought it could have been even better. And the next movie, the next straight-to-DVD movie I'm going to review, I really like that too, and so you're going to see a high score for that one as well. I won't give away too much detail about it, because hopefully I'll be able to review it tonight, and then maybe you'll see it on Sunday or Monday. So, but first I gotta get through the Lazarus Effect review, so that's next. So, have you seen Dragonheart 3, The Sorcerer's Curse? Are you one of those people that have Netflix Instant, saw it, and can see it? Well, if you saw it, what did you think about it? Still, and if this sounds like an interesting film for you, then go ahead and check it out. If you have Netflix Instant, it's not that big of a deal, is it? But if you have not seen Dragonheart 3 and still don't want to, then what is your favorite fantasy film of all time? Nope, scratch that. That would lead to a bunch of Lord of the Rings comments, so let's go with, what is your favorite fantasy movie that involves a dragon? You know what? I'm still going to get Hobbit comments for that. As always, this was Bruce Gifford, and this was just my opinion.